The FIA just banned McLaren's 2026 car, and what they found inside the design could change Formula One forever. Hidden components, gray area tech, and a design so controversial insiders are calling it the boldest gamble in McLaren history. Now the team faces a total redesign just months before launch, with championship dreams hanging by a thread. If you want the full breakdown before the rest of the paddock catches on, subscribe right now and let's dive into the chaos. The moment the FIA's technical delegates stepped into McLaren's design bay during a routine inspection, nobody expected it would end like this. Engineers were confident, relaxed even. But that changed quickly. The officials spotted an element embedded deep within the chassis simulation files that didn't align with the updated 2026 regulation package. Not just a minor detail. A full-blown structural deviation. And when the scans were reviewed, alarms went off in Paris. It was no longer about interpretation. It was about enforcement. FIA's statement, issued within 48 hours, used language we haven't seen in years: non-compliance with mandatory aerodynamic baselines, and circumvention of harmonized energy deployment zones. Translated? McLaren's revolutionary active aero solution appears to have exploited a regulation gap that the FIA never intended to exist. The concern wasn't just competitive advantage. It was the potential precedent it would set for all 10 teams if left unchecked. Behind the scenes, McLaren's leadership knew the car was pushing boundaries. The design featured an integrated DRS-like function that adapted not only to straight-line speed but to corner entry loads. In theory, it gave the driver an edge in both downforce and drag. But the FIA feared it blurred the line between mechanical integrity and software-driven manipulation. They viewed it as opening a dangerous door to semi-automated performance profiles, something 2026 rules were designed to limit. McLaren had prepared for backlash but not for a full design ban. As of now, the team has been given a fixed deadline to present a compliant version of their concept or face grid penalties at the start of the 2026 season. That's not a development freeze, it's a reset. The ban forces McLaren to rework nearly 30% of its aero surfaces and rethink its energy recovery distribution. And with simulation windows tightening before homologation, time is a rival even Red Bull would fear. Sources close to the FIA revealed that several other teams had flagged McLaren's design weeks ago. This wasn't just a technical crackdown, it was political. A mix of envy, suspicion, and fear drove certain competitors to request a review. And when Mercedes and Ferrari joined the chorus, the FIA had little room to maneuver. The optics of fairness demanded a public response, and McLaren, the most aggressive innovator under the 2026 blueprint, became the target. Meanwhile, within McLaren's Woking headquarters, the mood has shifted dramatically. Piastri's 2026 seat is now tied to a car undergoing fundamental redesign. Engineers are being pulled from power unit integration to focus on chassis reconfiguration. And leadership is reportedly preparing two parallel aero paths, one compliant and one in case the FIA backtracks under appeal pressure. But every backup plan costs time, and in this sport, time is the currency of titles. What does this mean for the championship? Everything. A top 3 team is now under regulatory siege. The FIA's move, while framed as enforcement, could reshape competitive balance before the first lap of the season is even completed. And if McLaren fails to recover, it's not just a loss for them, it's a signal to every team. In 2026, innovation has limits. And if you cross them, even legacy doesn't protect you. What really pushed the FIA to act wasn't just what was on the car, it was how McLaren tried to hide it. According to internal documents leaked through a third-party inspection contractor, the controversial design elements weren't openly labeled in the CAD files sent to the FIA's technical panel. Instead, they were bundled under ambiguous subcategories, disguised as composite flow compensators. That terminology doesn't exist anywhere in the 2026 documentation. It was a red flag, one that implied McLaren may have been trying to game the system under the radar. Now here's where it gets explosive. Engineers familiar with the situation say the component in question may have used real-time adaptive feedback from the energy deployment system to alter aero loads mid-corner, in effect, a form of smart aero that adjusts like a living organism. If true, it represents a technological leap beyond anything currently seen on the grid. That might sound brilliant, but the FIA sees it as skirting too close to driver assist territory, violating the spirit of the regulations. To make sense of all this, we spoke with an insider who worked on the 2026 technical framework. According to him, McLaren's design doesn't just bend the rules. It tries to outthink them entirely. It's not illegal because of what it does. It's illegal because of how it decides to do it. That distinction is crucial because it's not a case of wings or flaps. It's about decision-making happening inside the car without driver input. And that's where the FIA draws the line. Meanwhile, other teams are fuming but for the opposite reason. Red Bull has reportedly pushed the FIA to clarify whether similar concepts would be legal if disclosed more transparently. Mercedes, on the other hand, is quietly exploring whether McLaren's concept, in slightly altered form, could fit within the regulatory envelope. What this means is that McLaren's banned idea might not die, it might just get recycled by smarter lawyers and more cautious engineers. Publicly, McLaren has remained tight-lipped. But behind closed doors, the Woking-based team is working with one of the most aggressive legal teams in the paddock. There are whispers of an appeal not to reinstate the ban design, but to challenge the process by which it was disqualified. That could put the FIA in the uncomfortable position of having to justify a decision made without full team consultation, and in a year where transparency is already under fire, it's a PR nightmare waiting to happen. The fallout is growing. McLaren's development timeline has already slipped by an estimated 3.5 weeks, which in Formula One terms is catastrophic. Parts that were scheduled for wind tunnel testing have now been scrapped. Simulations are being rewritten. And perhaps most critically, the entire power unit integration has been affected because the now-banned aero system played a key role in cooling distribution. Without it, the engine maps themselves may need to be recalibrated. For fans, the bottom line is clear: McLaren's 2026 campaign just hit a massive roadblock. What was supposed to be a breakout year built on innovation has turned into a regulatory crisis. And as this drama unfolds, the bigger question is this: will any team dare to push this far again? Or has the FIA just drawn a line in the sand that no one's willing to cross? Inside the paddock, the mood has shifted. McLaren's rivals are divided. Some, like Aston Martin and Haas, are quietly celebrating seeing the ban as a rare moment where the FIA enforces parity before the season even starts. Others, like Alpine and Alfa Romeo, are worried that this level of scrutiny could stifle creativity across the board. If the message is "play it safe," innovation might be dead on arrival for 2026. Zak Brown, McLaren's CEO, has reportedly demanded a full review of the FIA's regulatory enforcement process. In private meetings, he's described the ban as selective policing, arguing that other teams have previously pushed the rules and received only warnings or technical directives, not immediate bans. He's pushing for a formal hearing, not just to overturn the decision, but to make the process public. And that would be a seismic shift. Meanwhile, Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri are said to be frustrated behind the scenes. Both drivers had spent weeks in the simulator getting used to the band configuration, particularly its dynamic balance shifts in high-speed corners. Now that system is gone, and the team's backup package reportedly produces 15% less downforce at top speed. That kind of performance hit could drop them from title contenders to midfield. What's more concerning is the timing. With just months before the first preseason test, McLaren will need to fast-track a completely revised aero system, one that not only meets FIA rules, but integrates properly with the Mercedes power unit and the revised cooling architecture. That's not just a redesign. It's a structural overhaul. And time is the one thing McLaren doesn't have. Some analysts are even suggesting this move could be political. McLaren's aggressive rise over the last 2 years and their tight partnership with Mercedes has made them a threat to the traditional power structure. With Red Bull pushing backroom influence and Ferrari locked in with the FIA on 2026 development standards, some insiders wonder if this ban was more about power than principles. For fans watching all of this unfold, the drama feels unreal. It's not just a technical scandal. It's a battle of ambition versus regulation, of risk versus conformity. And depending on how the FIA proceeds from here, the message sent to the rest of the grid could either encourage a new wave of innovation or shut it down entirely. And here's the twist: McLaren's controversial design may not disappear forever. There's talk of a 2027 reintroduction with minor tweaks and better documentation. But if that happens, it raises the ultimate question: was banning it now really about fairness, or just about timing?